All right, everybody. Good afternoon. Obviously, today has been all about these new Seahawks coaches. We've got an offensive coordinator, we've got a defensive coordinator, looks like we've got an offensive line coach. That's a huge part of the staff. Huge portion of the hard work putting together this staff has been done. There's a lot more to do, but nothing that comes after these coordinator hires, and I would also throw offensive line coach in there as well, is going to mean as much as what we've now done. So the main part of the staff is now in place. And with that main part of the staff in place, there comes time now for the staff that we have to make some tough decisions. And they don't have a lot of time to make these decisions. We've decided to wait until not quite the last minute, but close to the last minute here. So we have a very limited window of time if we're going to make any surprising moves before the post Super Bowl Friday vesting date. So I've talked about this before, but I want to take a video to discuss just this topic because it is important. So let me run it down. Today is the 10th of February. So this article that I have pulled up on the screen from Field Goals is a couple weeks old, but the information in it still applies, just the timeline is much shorter. So today is February 10th. February 16th is an extremely important date for several Seahawks players on them discovering whether or not they're going to be on the team in 2024. So let me try to explain this. There are players on this team and players on pretty much every team in the NFL that have a portion of their salary for the upcoming season guaranteed after the Friday after the Super Bowl. So basically, the idea is the team can move off of that player, but it has to be punched in before the Friday after the Super Bowl. So for us, it would be February 16th, which is in less than a week. We've got 6 days. So you can release these players and you can get your cap savings, but you have to do it in the next 6 days. So over the next 6 days, the coaches that we have in place, the general manager that's been in place for a while, and anybody else who's an interested party is going to have to figure out what they want to do. Because after February 16th, these players that we're going to talk about in this video become virtually uncuttable. Now, that doesn't mean there's no potential solution. You could trade a player still, but it can be hard to put together a good trade. It can be hard to find a team that wants what you have, that is willing to pay the amount of money that they're going to have to inherit, that is willing to give up assets. So if you're looking to move off of any of the following players, you basically got 6 days to figure it out. So let's take a look at some of the guys here. The first guy, this is the big one. This is the one that feels like it could go one way or the other. It's Gino Smith. So basically, Gino Smith's contract becomes basically fully guaranteed for 2024 on the 16th. As of right now, if you were to release Geno Smith in the next 6 days, just cut him. You probably wait until after the Super Bowl to do it. That seems like that's the way teams like to do things. Denver's waiting to do this with Russell Wilson as well. They have the same concern with Wilson, where a portion of his contract guarantees in on February 16th, and they haven't done it yet. So generally speaking, teams do kind of wait till after the Super Bowl, but they've typically made the decision months in advance. I don't know if we have, but Geno Smith on the hook for $31.2 million. If he is released before February 16th, we save $13.8 million. If he is still on the roster after February 16th, releasing him would save approximately $1.1 million, if I'm understanding this correctly. So basically, once we hit February 16th, Geno's entire 2024 salary cap hit becomes guaranteed. And there's no cutting him. Unless you want to save that $1.1 million so badly that you just have to do it, which that's not going to happen. There are a million different ways you can save 1.1 million if you really want it. So basically, if you're planning on releasing Gino Smith, it has to happen in the next 6 days or time has run out. Now, after February 16th, you could trade him, and the team that you trade him to inherits that 12.7. So you would be back to the original savings of 13.8. But trades can be hard to put together. Trades can be hard to formulate. Trades can be hard to actually finalize. So odds are good that if Geno is still here on February 16th, he's your quarterback in 2024. So Ryan Grubb just got here. I think this is going to have to be one of the first things he decides on. And I don't know what to expect here. I know that a lot of people think that he's coming in here to sell the farm for Michael Penix, the quarterback that he worked with the last 2 years in college. But I don't think that's very realistic. I think Penix is going to be a top 12 pick. I don't think we're going to be trading up. Grubb did not come in here with GM powers. Schneider doesn't really like to trade up. I don't think Penix is a John Schneider type of quarterback. I just don't think the pieces are going to come into place the way that Grubb needs them to get Penix. And by the way, even if you do cut Geno Smith in the next 6 days or trade him later in the offseason, you're still on the hook for a sizable portion of his salary. So as a GM, Schneider might be like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to take on all this dead money when I'm already going to be eating a massive amount on guys like Jamal Adams, potentially Quandre Diggs, potentially Will Dissly. It's too much. So I'll say this. In my mind, Geno Smith is a top 10 quarterback. So if I'm going to be losing him, I better get something out of it, more than just cap space. I want assets. So if Grubb and McDonald come in here and they're like, we don't want Geno because we just want our own quarterback, and John Schneider's like, well, Geno was Pete Carroll's guy, I want my own quarterback, I'm not really going to agree with it. I don't like that. I don't think that's how you should be making decisions here, but I would understand that to a certain extent. But if you cut Geno Smith and get nothing for him and just let him go somewhere else and pay that portion of his contract, I think that's pretty irresponsible. So personally, I'm hoping we get clear the February 16th date with Geno on the roster, so if we do decide to move off of him, we at least get something out of it. I do believe there's some trade value for Geno here. There should be. He's been a good quarterback for 2 years now, so if you decide you don't want him anymore, somebody out there should be willing to give up something to get him. So that's what I'm going to say about that. That's the decision in front of Grubb and McDonald and Schneider these next 6 days. And presumably, guys like Schneider and McDonald have a pretty good idea of what they want to do. I don't know about Grubb. Does Grubb know what he wants to do with Geno? He just got here. And maybe he's known deep down he was going to be here for a couple weeks now. I don't know. But that's a pretty quick turnaround to having to make a big decision, because as an offensive coordinator, your quarterback is a huge deal. So you get this decision wrong, that might just be your job in a couple years going up in smoke because you were wrong. And this is everything. This is, well, not everything, but it's a huge portion of the decision. Now, there is one other guy on offense who has a part of his contract guarantee on the 16th. It's Metcalf. But that's not really relevant because he's not going anywhere anyway. Basically, $13 million base salary becomes guaranteed on the 16th. And as of right now, I think he still has $23 million guaranteed anyway. Something like that. So after the 16th, DK becomes more expensive to cut than he does to keep. So you already weren't going to get rid of Metcalf because there's no money savings involved. You're really not going to do it now when you actually have to pay him more to let him go. So there's nothing really happening here with Metcalf, not much to say. That's not happening. Also not happening would be Uchenna Nwosu. He's got part of his salary guaranteeing on the 16th here. I believe it's the 1.125 plus the 8.75, so that's almost $10 million of money that is guaranteeing for Nwosu on the 16th. Now, we're not going to move off of him anyway because it's more expensive to cut him or trade him than it is to keep him. So nothing to say here. We weren't going to let him go either way, but for whatever it's worth, he becomes completely uncuttable after the 16th. The last guy, this one's a little more interesting. It's Dre'Mont Jones. And Dre'Mont Jones already has a pretty significant part of his contract guaranteed. He's due like 18 million this year. If we release him, we save like 5 million of it. So it's already pretty thin. But if he's on the roster after the 16th, he gets 7 million extra guaranteed. So basically at that point, it would cost more to let him go than it would be to keep him. Now, again, you could trade Dre'Mont Jones, but it's going to be hard to trade Dre'Mont Jones, especially after the season he just had, where I don't think people have a very strong feeling about what he is right now. Like, he was good in Denver, but PFF's never been a fan for whatever that's worth, and the season he just had, I don't know what Dre'Mont Jones is worth right now. It's hard to tell. But I don't think you could put together a trade for Dre'Mont. So if you want to let Dre'Mont go, you got to do it in the next 6 days. And you got to do it knowing that you're still going to pay him most of his money. So I don't think this is on the table, but I can't completely dismiss it. But yeah, that's basically what we're looking at going into the next 6 days of the offseason. The decision needs to happen now, or the decision is we're not doing anything. All right, so let me know what you guys think about all this. I think Jason Myers might also have some of his contract guarantee on Friday, but he's another guy who's not going to go anywhere no matter what because he costs more to cut than it does to keep. The only guys who make any sense to even discuss are Geno and Dre'Mont because you save some money if they're gone. But you won't be saving any money after the 16th. All right, see you guys later. Go Hawks.